Yo, so week one of training camp is officially on the books. It's a wrap. It's done. And call me crazy, but the aura of this New York Jets team just seems different. Like, again, maybe it's me, maybe I'm being a homer, but the energy feels different. The approach seems different. The aura seems different. I don't know, man. I think this Jets team is going to show us something completely different from what we saw from last year. Not just in the fact that Aaron Rodgers is going to be here, but just in general as a unit. But I digress. Week one is in the books. We're going to talk about it.
I can do it all, I will never fall. It's the Renaissance, you know that I got the mother sauce, man. You know I'm the boss, I know what it costs. Have you ever lost? I'm so versatile, yeah, I'm a Renaissance, man. I can do it all, I will never fall. It's the Renaissance, you know that I got the mother sauce, man. You know I'm the boss, I know what it costs. Have you ever lost? I'm so versatile, yeah, I'm a Renaissance, man.
Congratulations, brother.
And here we go. Okay, so first things first. There's some bad, right? So rather than having to go ahead and draw this out, we're gonna go right into the bad aspect of it, and we're gonna talk about it. Let's be honest, it's already been out there. Hassan Reddick has been a no-show this entire training camp thus far. Obviously considered himself or is considered to be a holdout. He's getting charged $50,000 per practice missed, and he missed the entire first week of practice. So I don't know what the plan is. I don't understand if this dude really wants to be here. However, we have seen him like a few of the posts of the New York Jets showing you highlights of training camp. And as of recently, we just heard that there's some positive updates and conversations between his team and the New York Jets. Looks like they're starting to get some kind of traction or movement in the right direction. But Hassan Reddick has not been in training camp, so we haven't seen what what that would look like on our defensive line, right? So we haven't had a chance to bring him in. I personally have been on record as saying as I don't want to pay the man an extension, but I do believe he's going to be an intricate part to what this team achieves this year. But if you want to go ahead and give him some more money, you know what I'm saying, for his 1 year with us, if you want to go ahead and add some incentives or fully guarantee, however you want to do it, I'm all on board with that. I'm not on team extend Hassan Reddick. I'm on team give that man more money to get him out here for a year. I preference that we need to focus on keeping the core group of players that the New York Jets have drafted. The guys like Garrett Wilson, Brees Hall, Jermaine Johnson, Sauce freaking Gardner, are to me guys that we cannot lose. I think they're cornerstone pieces on what a good roster would look like. So if we're gonna go ahead and pay the man, fine, but let it be we pay him for the year, whether you fully guarantee the money, you add some incentives to get him to that $20 to $25 million range in terms of pay, and then let him go ahead and chase, the market somewhere else. I do believe in this defensive rotation he can be elite. Right, I think that with our defensive line and in our scheme, the dude can kind of pin his ears back and go eat. So yeah, that's my take on Hassan Reddick. But he has not been here for all of training camp. It's been a week. It's only week one. But again, he's going to be charged $50,000 per day he's missed, and there's no refunds for that. Like, you can't go ahead and wipe that away. That's money he's going to have to come out of pocket and pay. So I do expect for him to at least consider coming back here come week two. That's a lot of money for a guy that's trying to go ahead and, make more money. But I digress. He wasn't here week one. That's fine. He'll be here when he gets here. I don't believe he's going to be a situation where this guy doesn't play on the New York Jets when the season opener gets here. Hopefully we get him into training camp to kind of go ahead and build that camaraderie and that continuity on the defensive line. Second thing, Gibson got injured. It's weird because I really haven't heard much about it since it occurred. Like training day camp 2 or 3, I believe he got injured. Apparently it's a leg injury. It doesn't seem like it's major. However, there hasn't been enough details for us to kind of get a better idea of whether or not it's going to be an all training camp thing or if he's going to miss legitimate time. Don't know, but Gibson did get hurt. It's a leg injury. Hopefully it's nothing major and we get to see him back out there sooner than later. A fight broke out, right? Listen, this is going to happen. A fight broke out at practice. I think it was yesterday, on Saturday, if I'm not mistaken. John Simpson was involved, but everything's all good. No injuries came from it. And actually, this is a good thing. I think you're seeing a bunch of alpha type personalities, very, very, very passionate about what this team can achieve this year. Whether it was protecting Aaron Rodgers or protecting another offensive lineman, whatever the case might be, you want to see your especially your linemen, in my opinion, get real physical. It's a very, very physical position. So those guys are going to go ahead and get heated sometimes. They've been hitting each other this whole time, whether it was OTAs, now it's in training camp. I get it. It was a minor fight. It started, then it was over. But that did occur. I put that in here. I don't know if it's really a bad, but figured you guys would want to hear about it because, hey, it happened, right? And let's think about that. Okay, DJ Reed would be the other one that really has concerned me. Maybe I'm exaggerating. Maybe I'm looking into it a little too much, but DJ Reed has gotten cooked on some double moves in camp that have allowed for some really, really big yardage or touchdowns when he's gotten cooked. So the fact that it's Garrett Wilson, aka G5, right, that's doing it to him should make us feel better. But I feel like the amount of separation we're seeing when he's getting cooked on these double moves is my biggest concern. That's a lot of separation. And again, last year you kind of saw that happen against Waddle, Miami Dolphins game. I mean, he got cooked a few times by Waddle as well. And I'm starting to see, maybe is it a pattern, something we should be concerned about. But again, I may be over exaggerating. You know, DJ Reed, when it comes to the short to intermediate stuff, has been elite, one of the top tier cornerbacks in football. But seeing this now on tape a few times really, between training camp last year, you can see it a couple of times too, once on deep routes. I just wanted to go ahead and bring that up. DJ Reed has been getting cooked in training camp, but again, it's Garrett Wilson and Aaron Rodgers doing it to him. Maybe I'm over exaggerating. I hope it's just me that looks at it and has a fear for no reason. But DJ Reed's a great cornerback. Like, I love him. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think the guy is a playmaker on this team. But that's been concerning for me in training camp. And I guess really that's it. I mean, honorable mention, you have Joe Tittman, who had a day of practice where he got like back to those high snaps again. It looks like he just, overshot a couple of snaps. Aaron Rodgers still was able to catch them and make plays from them. But those are the kind of things you kind of want to see tweaked out now. And you also saw Aaron Rodgers kind of pull him to the side and do exactly that. You saw them pretty much practicing some snaps. I think Aaron Rodgers kind of like nipped it in the bud already, but it was a little concerning. It happened one day. I haven't really seen it again anywhere since that day. I think it was like training day camp 3 or training camp day 3. So, like, again, just something I want to mention that was concerning, and I'm hoping that it's been nipped in the bud and it's not an issue moving forward. So, I guess another semi-negative is the defense has been kind of quiet during training camp, right? Especially the starting defense. So, again, maybe that is because of all the positives we're about to talk about now, but the defense being quiet, I'm personally not worried about it. I think Sauce Gardner right now is doing Sauce Gardner things. Had a couple of nice pass breakups already, guarding Garrett Wilson. But I think when it comes to him, the next tier for him to unlock another level of elite is to start taking some of those pass breakups and turning them into interceptions, right? Sauce Gardner is Sauce Gardner. This is an all-pro cornerback. The guy is competitive. He knows what he needs to do. He's going into year 3, so you should only assume he gets better because he's very, very cerebral. And I think the next step for him is simply to unlock that next tier of elite, is to start catching more of those passes thrown his way and turning them into turnovers for us. But overall, the defense has been pretty quiet. It's been a pretty quiet defense in week 1. That's okay. I'm not worried about these guys. This is a top 5 defense in the last back-to-back years. These guys know what they're doing. The scheme has been ingrained in them. I'm not tripping. I think that'll be a positive thing here over the next couple of weeks. These guys are going to alternate in terms of how well they do. But week 1 definitely, I would say, went to the offense. So going into the offense, listen, Aaron freaking Rodgers. The man is just out there playing chess. And it looks so good when he does it. He has looked excellent in camp. He's been very decisive. He's connected with the players. The ball has barely touched the ground. He's firing dots and moving around and outside and inside the pocket like the injury never happened. We've seen some things from him operating this offense that we usually don't see. Aaron Rodgers is using motion. Like, the use of motion has been incorporated into this offense, and historically, he isn't a fan of that. You've kind of seen, in the past where, like, case in point, he left Green Bay. I think when he was in Green Bay, they used motion. I think it was something around like 12% of the time, something like that. But the moment he was gone, you saw them use motion last year with Jordan Love about 80% of the time. So that leads me to believe that it's something that he's really not in favor of. But it's a new NFL, man. Motion actually helps you read the field better. And I think being able to teach an old dog like Aaron Rodgers a new trick, like, hey, accepting this is the way of the NFL, incorporating motion into this offense is only gonna make it better. It's only gonna go ahead and open up the field that much more. I think that trip to Egypt, and he must have gotten him a recharge. Rodgers looks like a dude that went out there and got himself some of that mythical Pharaoh energy or something, because he showed up to camp firing and leading this team on all cylinders, and it's as if he didn't miss an entire year last year playing football. The dude is back, and he's already connected, and I think that's important. We're only going to go as far as a couple of components of this team goes, and Aaron Rodgers is one of those components. So for me, it's exciting to go ahead and see him looking as good as he has this early already in training camp. Again, it's week 1. Take that as you will. This is just me giving you a recap, aka your situation report, about what week 1 looked like for the New York Jets in training camp. But Aaron Rodgers has impressed, and I think that needs to be mentioned. Man, the dude is just so good. So good. But that also takes me into the next positive. Garrett freaking Wilson, man. AKA G5. If you haven't watched the origin story for Garrett Wilson on New York Jets YouTube channel, finish this just right now, finish this recap, and then jump on and watch it, man. Incredible stuff. This is a dude that I think is just built to succeed in this world. Like, I think in terms of what he's had to endure, even as a baby, what he had to endure, and then becoming the grown man that he is today, great parenting, parents being in his life always hell, so his big brother's always challenging him. This is a guy who's been competing since birth. So again, if you haven't seen his origin story, go watch it. It's awesome stuff. But yeah, let's talk about Garrett Wilson. Listen, he's been a monster. He's been a freaking monster. It's year 3 for him. And usually when it comes to year 3, that's around the time frame where you start understanding what a player is about. You start seeing what their true potential really is. But I can tell you guys this. When it comes to Garrett Wilson going into year 3, we're talking about a guy who's already won Offensive Rookie of the Year. We're talking about a guy who has back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons in one of the worst offenses in all of football. This is a guy who has proven to be immune to bad coaching, immune to bad quarterback play, immune to double teams, just immune to it in general, to where he was still able to perform and do his thing as the true only wide receiver really on our roster worth a damn, and has excelled in back-to-back years. So I think when it comes to Garrett Wilson, it's not about what he can be, right? Like, we know this guy's a star in the NFL. We know he's a top dog. I think he also made the NFL's top 100. And to be honest with you, for a guy to be on a team that has performed so poorly on offense and be in that NFL top 100 just goes to show how spectacular he is as an individual player. I think personally next year he's going to be significantly higher. But again, just being mentioned in the top 100 is something that's not to sneeze at. These are other players that are grading you as one of the best players in the NFL. But when it comes to Garrett Wilson, man, I think that this year it's about where he stacks up amongst the top wide receivers in football. It's not about whether or not this guy's a top 10, top 15 player in the NFL when it comes to the wide receiver position. I think he's proven that. Yet the stats don't state that he has been. But when you take into context what he's had to overcome to achieve what he's achieved, this is a guy who is literally immune to a bad supporting cast. And he's still going to do what he needs to do to put up numbers. Hate it if you want to, love it if you don't. That's on you. But the fact of the matter is, unless you're a homer for your team, you can't look at Garrett Wilson and not realize this dude's been able to accomplish astronomical things, really, in one of the worst offenses in all of sports over the last couple of years. So I think Garrett Wilson right now going into camp, you're seeing a guy who understands that he's not looking to keep that trajectory. He's looking to be amongst the top dogs. And if you watch the origin story, you kind of get the feel that this guy's mindset is about being the best, being elite, being in the conversation. And I think this year he's looking at being a top 5 guy in the NFL. And you see it already in week 1 in training camp. The connection he and Aaron Rodgers have is really, 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 really awesome, first and foremost. Like, to see those guys connect so seamlessly. You didn't see this kind of connection with Rodgers with another wide receiver unless it was Devontae Adams. Now you're seeing it with Garrett Wilson. And what's great about that is these guys have been so in sync and scoring and dominating. Like, Garrett Wilson has just looked ridiculous in week 1 training camp. But even when they're not perfect on a call, even though they succeeded in the call, they're not perfect. You saw these guys arguing on the sideline, trying to go ahead and figure out, hey, where did we go wrong, right? Try to get back on the same page. That level of passion and understanding of, like, it's not about that, yes, it worked in this situation. It's about how we can perfect it so we know it works in every situation. I love the argument on the sideline. They both dabbed it up afterwards, so it wasn't a big deal. But you might have seen it at Garrett Wilson and Aaron Rodgers going off at each other on the sideline. It was a conversation, and I think it was pretty much about how they can go ahead and make their connection better. And I'm not mad about that. You should be mad about that. Nobody should be mad about that. So Garrett Wilson has impressed, man. And I think Garrett Wilson this year is going to be a top 5 wide receiver. I think when it's all said and done, he's going to be a top 5 guy. And he's starting it off early in training camp to show us that that's exactly what he wants to be. A top 5 guy in this NFL. Love it. Absolutely love it. Let's go to the tight end room. The tight end room. Conklin and Ruckert specifically have been showing out. I think it's almost as if both guys felt some type of way about the Bauer smoke during the draft. Both players have been laser focused. No, that's cliche, but they've delivered in the run game and in the passing game thus far in week 1. Granted, pads come on next week. We get to really see these guys get physical and another layer to what they're going to look like when football kicks off. But in terms of them starting off this season on a positive note, I don't think there's any doubt. I think that Conklin and Ruckert have done exactly that. When you look at Ruckert specifically coming into his year 3, I think people don't realize how difficult it is to learn the position of tight end. It's not easy. When you're talking about a complex position that requires you to not only learn the route tree, but it also requires you to be able to associate your routes with passing plays, as well as the blocking assignments for the play. And let's not forget, your quarterback can also call an adjustment or an audible that allows you to have to realign. So these guys are having to learn the position from the offensive line mindset as well as the wide receiver mindset. In some situations, the running back mindset, right? So tight end is a very complex position. And year 3 is around the time frame we're going to know whether or not, Ruckert is a freaking viable starting tight end in the NFL. I don't know if he's going to give us a Sam Laporte type leap. I don't know if he's going to be one of those top 3, top 5 guys. But I'm a big fan of Ruckert, and I feel like he's been proving thus far in camp that he's up to the task of showing us that he's worthy of being tight end 1 on the New York Jets. As we already know right now, Conklin's on his last year of his contract. Are they going to renew him or are they not? I don't know. I'm a big fan of Conklin. I would hope they renew him and kind of keep those guys together, kind of keep that core group of tight ends together. But going into year 3, I'm expecting some big things from Ruckert. I'm looking to see him actually have some impactful plays for us this year. And I personally, man, I think the tight end room was solid before the draft. I feel even better about it now, just kind of seeing how those guys have progressed thus far in training camp. But that takes us now to the running back room. Man, the running back room is something special because we already know what Breece Hall is. Breece Hall is a superstar. I really don't care, man. Like G5, Breece is immune to bad coaching. He's immune to bad QB play. He's immune to bad O-lines. He's immune to stacked boxes. I mean, the dude is a dog. Last year, He finished second in all scrimmage yards behind Christian McCaffrey. Think about that. Christian McCaffrey is on the 49ers. This is a team that went to the Super Bowl. Great coaching, great offensive line, great offensive scheme. He's got the support of a really good quarterback, a great tight end, 2 great wide receivers, and he finished first in all scrimmage yards last year with an incredible supporting cast. Some would say an elite supporting cast. Right behind him is Breece Hall, who is on the complete opposite of the spectrum. So he wasn't like the second offensive. No. He was second in all scrimmage yards behind Christian McCaffrey for our running backs. Christian McCaffrey went to the Super Bowl with an elite supporting cast. Breece Hall was on the Jets. No offensive line, no quarterback, 1 wide receiver really to fear in Garrett Wilson. He faced the most stacked boxes of all running backs in all of football. Coaching, I mean, like, think about it. Just the amount that this dude had to face is the complete polar opposite of what Christian McCaffrey had to face. And he finished right behind him, second in all scrimmage yards for last year. So when you put it into context, I don't care who you are. You can go ahead and hate the Jets, LOL Jets, whatever. I think Breece Hall is the best running back in football. I do. Now, he needs to go ahead and, of course, for those of us who are the numbers guy, you need to see it in terms of stats. You need to actually see him surpass Christian McCaffrey on the charts to say, yep, he's freaking the number 1 running back in football. But if you look at it in terms of context for what he was able to achieve last year, off an ACL injury, mind you, also off of a coach who didn't realize he could play football until about midway through the freaking season, there's no other way you can line it up except for this guy's elite. In fact, I really believe if he was probably on any other team with a winning record, it wouldn't even be in question. Everybody would say this guy is probably better than Christian McCaffrey. But I digress. I think he is. I think he's better. And I think we're going to see that this coming season. Man, but then you got Breece Hall. Obviously, I'm sorry. I'm going into a tangent about just the running back room. But right behind Breece Hall now, we brought in Braylon Allen. And Braylon Allen has impressed. This is a guy who's proven to be an anomaly in terms of physical specimen, right? Huge dude, 6'2", 240 plus pounds. Very, very shifty, quick feet. He's able to run routes. He's able to run through you, run around you. He's got soft hands. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. Braylon Allen has been an incredible compliment in this running back room. One we didn't have last year. I think Breece Hall, being the workhorse that he was last year, now has somebody that when he gets off the field, you're not going to worry whether or not the production significantly drops. I'm not saying Braylon Allen is Breece Hall, but I do believe he's a top-tier RB2. On some teams, he'd be RB1 in terms of what we've seen thus far in training camp. Pad's got to come on. We got to see it, obviously, when the season opens up. But in terms of what he's shown us at the collegiate level and now, the dude is different. To be built like that and to be able to move like that and catch footballs like that and run routes, that's impressive, man. That's extremely impressive. And I don't think people are giving him enough credit. So B. Allen has looked really good in camp. And I'm looking forward to seeing that 1-2 punch combination of him and Breece Hall. But then you go into a third component, Tariq Cohen. Listen, Tariq Cohen has, I don't know, found the fountain of youth or reawakened, what was once him. This is a guy who's really, really a shifty back. And he's impressed. I think he's impressed in camp. You've seen him make some plays, and I think he's going to be one of those guys that he brings his slashing and dashing type of style to go out and get those little shifty yards for us. He's also out of the backfield. He can catch the ball. All 3 running backs can catch the ball out of the backfield, which is really an undervalued trait for your running backs, but we've got 3 that can do it. I know we've got Isaiah Davis as well, but he's been kind of quiet so far in camp, so I'm not going to really talk about positive or negative about him. We don't know. But I do know that Tariq Cohen has looked good. And I do know Tariq Cohen is going to be able to assist us, not just, in the offense when we need to go ahead and change of pace kind of back. But this is the guy that I think is going to be impactful also on special teams. On special teams, I think with the new rules being shifted around, there's some things already being put in play for this kid. I'm personally excited to kind of see what that's going to look like as well. Again, I digress. The running back room for me is top tier. It's top tier, man. And again, we're not going to be able to get credit for it until you start seeing games play and people are going to say, damn, them boys got some horses in the running back room. So the running back room for me is top tier. So I'm excited about that. But honestly, we just talked about all this good, right? All this good. And I think the cultivation of this Jets situation report for the first week of training camp really comes down to this. The New York Jets offensive line. They've looked good, man. They've looked really, really good. The pockets Rodgers has had to operate from have been more consistent. Tyron Smith looks as advertised, man, coming off of an all-pro season. The blind side hasn't been this secure since the days of DeBrickashaw Ferguson. I mean, I can say that with confidence. I look at Tyron Smith protecting Rodgers' blind side. It's a thing of beauty. I absolutely love it. It's just been amazing to watch him just clear out his blind side. Don't worry about it. Focus down the field. See who's coming at you. Adjust in the pocket if need be. He knows his blind side is covered, man. Like that, there is something about that people just don't understand as a quarterback, to know I can focus on what I'm seeing and not having to worry about what I have to also. Am I feeling pressure right now? Is there pressure? Don't worry about it. Tyron Smith's got you. He's been great, man, and as advertised. And I'm loving how they're kind of like alternating his practice days. I want to go ahead and keep this guy as fresh as possible, to keep him on the field as long as possible. Listen, man, the Jets have been cursed when it comes to offensive line play for several years, but what's to say like this, the curse can't shift? What's to say that this can't be the year where we get a guys on offensive line that play the entire season? I'm not going to bank on that, but man, it will be nice to go ahead and see Tyron Smith play a full freaking season. But needless to say, he's looked amazing. But on the other side, or not on the other side, but also next to him is John Simpson, man, who has been a mauler in the run game. You can tell the guy gets really excited when a run play is being called, so he's going to need to go ahead and create more of a poker face whenever he's going out there, because you don't want other teams knowing it's a run play. But man, John Simpson has looked good. And night and day from what we had there last year. I think about already on the left side how this has improved, and I can't help but get excited. But then you see Joe Tippmann, who again, other than that day where he was a little off on his snaps, has also impressed. Looks like he's moving right along into second tier, or the second year of his development, coming off of that freaking making that all rookie team as a center. I think Tippmann is going to be solid. Right. I also think this is a guy that can only keep getting better. He's got the athletic traits and ability. He seems to have the desire to want to learn. And I think when you've got Aaron Rodgers teaching this guy, you know what I'm saying, like, you know, footwork when it comes to what the center should be doing. You got Tyron Smith. He's listening. He's in that component of listening to Tyron Smith talk. Like, he can only get better. Another thing that's significantly undervalued is the benefit of having a guy like Tyron Smith in that room talking to these guys. But then you go to the right of freaking Joe Tippmann. Guess who's back? Back again. We're talking about Elijah Vera Tucker. He actually took snaps this year. This week at right guard. Elijah Vera Tucker is back at his natural position. To me, it's impressive. Again, coming off of that Achilles injury, I thought it would be a little bit going into training camp before we get a chance to see him. But there he is. He's here. Elijah Vera Tucker is very much present. He's very much operating on all cylinders. He looks very physical. He looks light on his feet. He's here. He's here, and he's participated in full team drills. I want to say the last 2 days. If I'm mistaken, it was pretty much the last day of training camp this for week 1. But he's ready to put on the pads come week 2 and really get at it. So again, Elijah Vera Tucker, our right guard, is here. He's back. He's already back from the Achilles injury, which is amazing to me. On the right side, we've seen a rotation of individuals, whether it was Olu Fashanu, we've seen freaking Warren, we've seen freaking Mitchell. Morgan Moses has not been cleared yet for team drills, but he's been out there on the field as well. He's been freaking doing some walkthroughs with the offensive line. You've seen him kind of participating in some training aspects. The fact of the matter is, Morgan Moses and Tyron Smith are two dogs that have been doing this at a high level for a very, very long time. And they're doing a lot of mentoring, actively mentoring and teaching these young guys how to go ahead and play the position of offensive lineman. I think that is greatly underappreciated in terms of what that means for this team in general. Continuity isn't something the Jets have had on their offensive line in a while, but mentorship and reps together for the starters have been non-existent in what seems like a decade now. The O-line has looked great, but the fact that they're also taking time before practices and after practices to go ahead and take reps together, to practice together, to train together, I think is something that's going to allow them to play together. Like, again, continuity being key on offensive lines, to play together. If a guy like freaking Tyron Smith needs to miss some time, I think all this now is going to go a long way into creating that unity, right? That they can play together because they're literally practicing together. They're having these conversations together. They're already understanding how each other thinks. I think the impact of Tyron Smith and Morgan Moses being able to talk to these young guys, and it's a young offensive line. I think John Simpson is 26. Elijah Farrah-Tucker is also 25, 26. These are some young guys, right? And you've got these two freaking veterans on each side of the offensive line breaking down to you their years of knowledge, what they've seen, how to beat what they've seen. Like, it can't go unsaid that this offensive line has not only looked good in camp, but it's only week one. And as they continue to train together, practice together, learn together, it's only going to look better. And I think the offensive line is going to be the impact, that second impact of we go as they go, right? I said before, a couple of things need to work in order for us to really achieve our goals. And I think Aaron Rodgers, without question, is one of them. I think offensive line, without question, is the other one. Honestly, I think Garrett Wilson is the other component, right? Like, I think those components on offense are the ones that we need to have operating as they should, or we're going to be limited as to what we can achieve. Overall, I think it was a great week one in terms of training camp. I think what we're seeing right now from this team, the energy is different. It's more of a business-like approach. I know I said it earlier in the video that I feel like it's different. And again, I'm not trying to be a homer. I think last year we were so excited about the Aaron Rodgers acquisition, the Aaron Rodgers impact. We really didn't look at anything else when it came to the roster. As a Jets fan, I can tell you, like, I was hyper focused on Aaron Rodgers. But what I can say is that, in hindsight, like now, it's one of those things where I'm confident enough in saying the team as a whole is moving different, right? It's a different experience in terms of, who you have showing up, how they're performing, how they're training and practicing. It's more of a business, more of a professional approach, right? Like, these guys are coming in focused on the task at hand before they go ahead and call it a day. I personally, I'm excited for this season. And I know as a Jets fan, we say it all the time, we're excited, but again, it just feels different, right? This is a roster that's really built to win now. You've got a first ballot Hall of Fame quarterback in Aaron Rodgers. If he can stay on the field, you've got a chance. Superstar wide receiver, superstar running back, superstar freaking cornerback, superstar edge rusher, superstar defensive tackle. This team is loaded, man. It really is. And anybody who's not a hater can look at this team objectively and think, man, if they put it all together, if they can stay healthy, right? And I hate saying it because it seems like it only applies to the Jets, but if those things happen, this team is going to be a problem. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. This team is going to be a problem. I'm excited. And as my shirt says, you know what I'm saying? I'm ready to get hurt again because I'm bought in. I'm all the way bought in to what I've seen right now. Yeah, that's your week one. Week two kicks off on Monday. They're going to be putting on the pads. And then I'll have your situation report at the end of the week for that one as well, aka the recap. But yeah, man, training camp is here. Football is officially here. I don't believe we're going to see another Thursday until January where we don't have Thursday night football blessing our television sets. So again, welcome back. Welcome back to the NFL season. This is the time we've all been waiting for. Fantasy football is right around the corner. Football is right around the corner. if you didn't know, I just started doing memberships. I highly suggest you just take a look at those memberships. There's some really, really awesome extras that you're going to get as a member of Gunny's Fire Team, specifically when it comes to like access to the fantasy football league with an autographed jersey for the champion, and we're going to be an autographed memorabilia giveaway for my Alpha Team members. So again, memberships are open. Please take a look at that, and hopefully I see you as one of the members. We can go ahead and chop it up, talk ball. I'm still right now game planning on which games I'm going to be seeing, but I'm definitively already bought in on Jets versus Steelers. I am going to a Miami Dolphins game. Not sure if it's going to be in Miami or in MetLife. I'm still trying to figure out which one I'm going to go ahead and see. The Tennessee game, it's like the Jacksonville game is also kind of exciting as well. So again, I'm going to be going to some games. I'll be putting it out there. Now it's going to be mentioned in the memberships first, which games I'll be at. So if you're in any one of those cities or going to any of those games, we're going to go ahead and chop it up and talk before the games. But yeah, man, exciting stuff. Training camp week 1's in the books. This was your New York Jets situation report on training camp week 1. And man, it just feels different. I can't explain it. It really just feels different. Go Jets.
Congratulations, brother.